G'day everyone. Just a little video to explain to people you might see on the news and media, social media and things, that different areas are getting some really good falls of rain just lately. You know, our folk in the towns and cities who care about us out here in the bush, they might think, oh good, that's really good news, they're getting some rain finally, and it is. It's really good news. But is it drought breaking rain? Well, we've had some rain here just recently on this property. This is one of the main channels and creeks that runs through our property, and we've had 2 inches, almost 2 inches over the last week and a half. And it's done this, it's given us some nice water. This creek, this channel is actually running there. But it's not drought breaking rain, it's what we call relief rain. It's called relief rain because it does this, it gives us a fresh run of water in the channels and creeks, and puts a little bit of fresh water in dams. It also gives them some of that to eat, some fresh grass that's coming up. And so it's a relief to them. It's not drought breaking, and I'll explain why. While you can see there's some nice green stuff starting to come up here, just take a moment to look at all the grass that's not responding. All the way down this channel, this patch of country I'm standing on, this bit of grass here is some of the best in this paddock. And it goes all the way down these channels and creeks to the boundary fence. Unfortunately, there's a lot of tons of grass that is not going to respond. It can't, because it went too long this year, and the previous years. It's just gone too long every year for it to survive, and so it's now dead. You know, like this stuff here it's just finished. If an animal ate that, he would die. You can't live on that stuff, there's nothing in it. And unfortunately, a lot of these stumps of grass, these well-established stumps of grass, right down through this country, and many other properties in Queensland and even parts of New South Wales, is facing the same story this year, and have been facing it for a number of years. Every year in these big epic droughts that go on and on for years, this is the 7th year of drought in this property. We face this. Our established grasses die off. Also, what happens is our new seed stock, I'll just show you, this is some new seed that's responded to the rain that we just had. It's come up, shot away. There's some of these little mates there, but they're seeds that are sitting dormant in the soil waiting for the right moisture content to respond. We lose that as well, because if it doesn't keep raining, that all just dies off and we lose it. So we lose our major feed stocks, vast portions of it die off and never respond, and we also lose a lot of our seed out of the soil if it doesn't keep raining. This type of thing has been happening to the livestock graziers in Queensland for a long time now, years and years of it. And each year they get less and less feed on their land. This wasn't overgrazed, this was just drought going too long and killing the grass. So when we have the rain, it just doesn't do what it should do in normal years. If we'd have got 2 inches on this back, say before Christmas, all this grass that's now dead and gone and lost would all be alive and healthy. It just goes too long, year by year. And so when you hear about people getting drought-breaking rain on the news and media, some of the reporters get quite excited and show pictures of flooding and everything. All this floods. This channel here breaks open in its banks and joins up with the further channels further out over there. It goes right underwater. When the waters go down, we are still left with that. because it can't respond any further. It's too long without moisture. I'll just show you what the moisture's like. It's only been a couple of days now since our last rain, probably I think 4 days since our last rain, and I'll show you how dry it is. It's just dust. And the reason why that is because this country, once it gets these heavier soil properties, once they get so dried out, the soil binds up and gets that layer of skin on it. You can see that top layer of dirt there forms a neat skin, and so when you get your 2 inches of rain or 4 inches or whatever, it just runs off down through all between the grass stumps that are now dead and heads off down the creeks and channels and makes its way to the coast. Same thing for the Western Queensland fellas. Just to the east, the west of us there's the channel, not the channel country, the over the Great Dividing Range, and their water heads to Lake Eyre. Ours, we're on the eastern side of the Great Dividing Range, up on the eastern slopes, so our water heads east to the ocean. So that's just a little bit of a insight there into what we face, and every grazier is facing that, almost every grazier, where they're losing. This is hundreds and thousands of tons of feed that livestock animals should be able to live on through this 2018 year that is useless now. And that's been happening. 2015 we lost a huge amount of feed. All that country out there you see in the foreground, that had huge amounts of feed stock on it. All these channels were full of grass stumps that were alive. By the end of 15, a massive portion of that had died. 16 more died, 17 more died. And now it's 18, and we're hoping to get enough rain to grow some of these seed stocks. It takes years for those little seeds, new seedlings, to come up and become a well-established clump of grass. So if you see good rain happening on the news or the media, just keep this in mind, that it may not be drought-breaking rain. What you should be thinking is, oh good, get excited for them because it is good news, but what you should be saying is good, they've had a start. They're getting a start, and they're getting some relief rain, and hope that they get more and more rain to bring this back to life. This particular paddock, I just want to explain that this type of thing is not due to overstocking or overgrazing. You might hear people say, oh, they're in a bad way because they've overstocked or overgrazed their land. This is not the truth. It might be in some instances, but it's definitely not the truth in most of the country, drought-stricken country that we're looking at. This particular paddock is about 3,000 acres, or close to it. In 2015, at the beginning of the wet season, there was heaps of grass stock. It was, if you were standing right here, this grass here was sort of up to your knee. At the beginning of 2015, about January, end of January 2015, it was right out through all that area, out on those open patches. It was, you know, there was grass stumps all across there with plenty of feed available. Those open patches never grow big bulk feed. They tend to grow more softer grasses, but there was heaps of it. You could have brought a hay baler here, and I don't have any photos of it, but you could have baled the softer grasses that were growing on those open patches. There was plenty of rootstock available in this country then. I took all the cattle out of this paddock. For the entirety of 2015, the entirety of, and the same for that paddock over there. There's a fence there, and I don't know whether you can see it or not, but There's a fence. That paddock was also destocked at the same time. Beginning of 2015, destocked. Never saw another animal in it, another beast, another cow, until halfway through the wet season in 2017. So that's all of 15, it's wet season, all of the 15 year, all of the 16 wet season, all of the 16 year, and then half of the 17 wet season totally destocked, not one cow. And like I say, there was plenty of grass stumps at the beginning of 15. These older stumps here, I'll just show you. There's one there. They died at the end of 15. About October 15 they were stuffed with no animals on them. Only kangaroos. The only animals that ate that grass that year was kangaroos. We lost the majority of these, 2015, the majority of our grass stock died that year. Some had already died in 14, but 15 really wiped it out. All out across those open patches, it was just dead everywhere by the end of it. 16 came, we lost more. Some of these grass stumps died in 2016. 17 came by the end of 17, we're in 18 now. The remainder has died. It is not due to overstocking, it is due to a lack of rain. It doesn't matter. You can overstock, understock your country all you want, but if you get caught in one of these epic, disastrous droughts that go on year after year, your grass stocks will die because they cannot live without rainwater. Doesn't matter how good a manager you are, you will lose your country, you will lose your feed. This is not dieback. Some of the coastal areas are suffering from grass dieback, even when it's lovely and green and raining and no drought at all. Grass looks like that because it's got a fungus in it and it's killing it. This is due to, there's no dieback out in this country, it's just dying because of lack of water. The lack of water extended year after year, and that is what nearly all of Western Queensland, the drought-stricken areas of Western Queensland are facing, and just hundreds of thousands of tonnes of feed on this property alone are disappeared this year. 2015 we had the same, all down through there. You can see all that dead stumps of grass in those channels. All we have left is the grass in the channels, in these little gullies and creeks. And you can see some of it is surviving. And it will die this year too if the drought continues in the same pattern. This area that we're looking at now, normally this time of year would be all grass right up to your kneecap if you were standing among it. After this time of year, by March, this is the 1st of March today, 2018, this should be grass all through here, all through this timbered country should be lovely and green and grass right up to, not quite to your horse's belly, but you'd like to think it'd get there. But definitely up to your kneecap in height. But you can see those stumps of grass have died off over the last previous years, and what's left is just dying off now. What's it going to take to break this drought? How much rain? If we got right here on this patch of soil, we got say 10 inches over the 6 to 10 inches over the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, over the next month of March. That will definitely make a big difference. It will stop us having to sell off our remaining livestock, but then it will take monthly rain throughout 2018, substantial amounts of rain every month almost throughout 2018. The rain I just spoke of, that 6 to 10 inches over the next month or so, should allow any of this type of grass that has survived to continue on and go to seed and drop more seed in the ground. Some of that seed can then regerminate and start to take up some of this soil again, and replace some of these clumps of grass that have died off and never come back. That's what it will take in most of Western and Central Queensland area, especially in the heavier soil types, to regenerate that country and get those people out of drought. That's just the climate side of it. It's not talking about the drought financially. Massive losses financially have taken place for the people out here, and it's just going to take years to build up their livestock numbers again and get their business side of their grazing enterprises back into condition. The rain will help regenerate the soil and the land. As far as the business side of them, unfortunately many just won't recover. The banks will take their land as soon as it looks good again and sell it up. We're hoping the banks are kinder than that and can see their way to stick by those people, but unfortunately they don't have that type of record. But yeah, plenty of rain over the next month or two, and then every month after it through 2018 will help this particular patch of country regenerate. But if the drought follows the same pattern, well then these little bits of grass are on the chopping block next. Those bits that have survived, they will die off as well, and then all the country will just look like this. And what we do then, we don't have any livestock at that point. We get rid of every last animal before that takes place, and then we think about that when it comes, I suppose. We just hope it doesn't come. But that should give you an idea of, when you see news reports of rain happening in drought-stricken areas, definitely don't think that it's drought breaking in these parts of Queensland. It'll be drought breaking for maybe areas that haven't been in drought as long as this, and their grass stocks are not that bad. They're still under the ground. They look dead, but they're surviving. The roots are still alive. If they get 6 or 8 inches over a few weeks of that will break their drought. If they've maybe only been in drought for 1 year or less, but certainly this stuff that's been 5 to 7 years in drought, it's too far gone. So that ought to give us a bit of an idea. Thank you.